Okay, so we're going to run through push-ups or press-ups, whatever you want to call them, and all of their progressions from the very, very beginning up to the full press-up position. So for those that are starting out and literally can't do much of a press-up at all, what we want to start on is probably an incline negative push-up. Okay, so you'll need a box if you're at the gym, or the steps at home, or a sofa, anything that's as high as possible for you. So the higher your box or your step and the more vertical you are when you're set up, the easier the exercise will be. So if worst comes to worst, you don't have something like that, you can always use a wall at home. Now, what you're going to do, so if we'll use the box for this example, but Charles going to pop her hands in the box. They want to be around shoulder width apart. If that's not comfortable, they can go slightly wider. Now, she'll then step her feet back so that she goes into this straight arm plank position. And the goal of the task is to control her chest down towards the box or the step or the wall as slow as possible. Now, she's just making sure that her elbows aren't flaring out too wide. And they're also not tucking in too much, because that makes it slightly more tricycly. So with the negatives, the idea is that you actually just control down as slow as possible, and then you can step in and then just get back up to that start position however. So that would be the negative one. Once you can reach maybe 5 to 10 good reps of those where you're controlling for at least 5 seconds down, you're probably then ready to move on to the next bit. And all that is going to be on the incline is then controlling down towards that chest, the box, and then press back up. So it's just an incline press up. Okay. Once you can probably do 10 reps of those, then it's probably a good idea to start thinking about lowering the box towards the floor. And basically just repeat that process. And once you lower the box, go back to your negatives, see if you can get 5 to 10 really good 5-second minimum declines, and then think about getting 10 reps of full but inclined position press-ups. Once we've kind of got down towards the floor base, then we can think about moving into the floor. So we'll show you the kneeling press-ups. It's not maybe our favourite form of push-up, but we know a lot of people do them in the gym, etc., just to get through classes and to get through programs. So you can set your hands up like you normally would, so hands underneath your shoulders or slightly wider if that's more comfortable. Then actually what you need to do is set yourself up into a full press-up position. So actually get your balls of your feet on the floor, hips in line with the shoulders. Then from there to actually get your knees on the floor, keep your feet where they are and bend the knees straight down, so then you'll make contact. This way you've still got your body weight kind of going forwards towards the arms, rather than just setting your knees up underneath your hips and you end up in a bit more of a prayer position. Because that position there just isn't very useful. You end up doing what Charles doing, your head goes between your hands. It just looks pretty shoddy, and it's just not ideal for you to progress forwards. So once you're in that kneeling position, everything else stays the same. So Charlie's chest and hips are going to go towards the floor. So notice how her hips are moving as well. Her bum's not staying in the air. Okay, she's not piking down. Everything's moving forwards. Head's going in front of the hands, chest going between the hands. So that's your kneeling press up. Again, you can go for a negative version, just control down if you want to, and then roll back up into that start position. And then again, once you can reach 5 to 10 of those where you're controlling for at least 5 seconds down, we'll then add the concentric part, which is the part where she's pushing back off the floor, so it's just a full kneeling push-up. Once we're good at those, then we are probably ready then to go into a full push-up position. So taking that there. So we can start at the negative here. So all that same position, hands underneath shoulders, controlling down as slow as possible. So the hips and chest hit the floor pretty much at the same time, rolling back up and redoing that. Once we've got past that negative push-up position, what we can do is something called a long, short press-up. So all this is, so Charles going to go into a full push-up position, and then what she's going to do, she's going to do a negative all the way down towards the ground. So she's aiming to control that negative, chest and hips hit the floor at the same time. Then her knees are going to drop onto the floor. So this is going to provide support for her as she begins to try the push-up. Okay, so she ends up doing a kneeling push-up back up to the beginning before lifting the legs up and then going for that negative. So that's the very early stage of that long, short press-up. Now to improve that and progress forwards, basically the task is, if chart just fast forwards, because I know that's going to get quite tiring, every time you do that negative, the knees touch the floor. As you're pressing up from that bottom position, the idea is to lift the knees up off the floor as early as possible. Now, the earlier you lift those knees, so if Char does it, so she puts her knees on the floor, lifts up slightly and then bring the knees up, that's way harder than if she goes down, leaves her knees down, picks herself up and doesn't bring them up until later on. Okay, so the earlier you pick the knees up, the more progression or more progressed and advanced the exercise is. And then we basically get to the point that once you can do that and you're lifting the knees up almost as early as possible, then you're just doing a full push-up. So we're just going to that full push-up, down and control back up. Okay? And then from there, once we can do sets of good push-ups, we can then look into the other calisthenics-based type push-ups, but that's not for today. Okay, so hopefully now you can kind of see there's a lot of steps towards building towards that push-up. So don't fear if you can't do one straight away. There's honestly so much to work on. You've got loads there to try and practice and progress.